Hello, everyone. My name is Michaela Smith, and my study examined perspective, attribution of blame, and order effect by using two different vignettes about the same scenario. Now, when I was younger, I was teased a lot and was often told that if I just changed the way I acted or the way I looked, essentially who I was at the time, that the bullying would stop. But instead of blaming me, the victim, there should have been some sort of intervention in order to uncover who was actually to blame and to come to a better solution. Which leads me into the purpose of my study. The purpose of my study is to shed light on the importance of perspective and order effect when it comes to blame. So essentially, there were two questions I wanted to answer. The first is, does the amount of blame attributed to the victim change in the context of knowing one vignette versus both? And does the order in which vignettes are presented to the participant impact the amount of blame attributed? Now, using first person, in this case, the bully's perspective, and second person, the victim perspective, is key in social situations when connecting perspective and comprehension and trying to put yourself in someone else's shoes. A way to define blame culture is a series of perspectives and rules in a specific system defined by an aversion to take risks and account for liability in fear of judgment. When scenarios are deemed as anticipated or people believe the victims could have stopped the attack by doing something differently, blame is attributed towards the victim. This is applied to the fact that people are naturally driven to uncover others' true intentions and credit personal judgment whenever viable. Now, if you look at my methods section, you can see an example of what one of the packets handed out might look like. There's a victim or bully perspective vignette, and then two adapted versions of the victim manipulation scale, one for the bully and one for the victim, and then the other perspective vignette and another two victim manipulation scales. Now, why did I re-administer the bully and victim blame scales? The purpose of implementing the scales twice is to assess whether the blame for the bully and the victim changed. Blame scale order was counterbalanced to control order effect. Moving on to the results, I used a Mann-Whitney U to compare the difference of the independent variables. My alpha was set at 0.05, which means there ended up being a significant difference in the amount of blame attributed to the victim, because the p-value was 0.004, which is obviously lower than 0.05. This shows that victim blame increased when participants were exposed to the victim perspective first. No significant difference existed in the amount of blame attributed to the bully, where the p-value was 0.296, based on the order in which perspectives were presented. In my graphs, here you can really see the difference of when participants received the victim perspective first and when they received the bully perspective first. With the outcome of these results, I believe generalizability is important because by recreating the study with younger students, like elementary or middle school age, we can pinpoint where and why victim blaming begins and how to rectify it. I also believe it could help professionals in future research to understand the psychology behind victim blaming and how to cut off blame development at a young age so that people can grow up trying to understand both sides of a story instead of immediately placing blame. I hope you guys enjoyed my presentation, and thank you so much for listening.